So on our last inspection, when I was back there, some red flags were raised about number one hive. There's some things I saw that are inspiring me to go back and take another look at them today. I want to talk about the red flags that are of concern to me. The first is when we popped the lid on it, you had a lot of bees bubble off of the hive, which you didn't have on the other hives. They were a little bit less organized, a little bit more edgy. And the second is when you went in and separated the supers, you found out there was virtually no population down deep. So the concern that I have is that they may have lost their queen sometime during the winter and are basically just a queenless hive right now that's just dying off population-wise. So I want to go back there and I want to see some eggs in some cells. If not, then that hive is in trouble, and I'd best do something about that before it gets robbed out and turns into a mess. So what would you do in a situation like that? Well, if indeed it was very minimal, I might take the remaining bees and throw them in a nuke, or take the remaining super and try to combine it on another hive and let them integrate themselves, and get the other resources, if there are any, in storage. Freeze it to kill off wax moths and any of that type of thing. But we don't know that until we actually go in the hive, so that's what we're going to do. So I was commenting earlier today on somebody else's video that the best way to find a queen, if you're looking, is not to use smoke. Well, these girls were jumpy, so I'm not sure how that's going to work, but we'll try with no smoke, and if we have to, we'll fire up the smoker. But without smoke, you want to be very quiet, move in very slow and deliberate fashion. I see girls jumping out already. This is a case where we really need to go in and find out whether we truly have a live hive or not. And I'm afraid the only way to do that is to pull some frames, and we'll see. We know that population-wise, as we go downstairs, there really isn't anything. So I'm assuming we're dealing with a cluster that's about that size. That is not good. And really, we're down to basically 2 medium frames of bees. That is not good. Okay, I think I do see a queen. She's right there. She's buried under the other bees right now. But there she is right there. Very small queen. I am not seeing any eggs. This is, after all, March 8th. But with a cluster that small, boy, I would have rather seen something. There are cleaned out cells. One hive beetle. So the question is what to do. And I think the answer is going to be to reduce this down to one medium. They have honey stores in this. There's a queen sitting in there. But there's not enough bees to defend the rest of the hive. So, but I can tell they're not going to need this pollen patty. We'll leave a little bit in there. This bottom super is feeling very empty. We see that we have a lot of dead bees on the screen. So what's happened is they haven't even had enough of a workforce to keep the hive clean. So we'll empty the screen off and we'll make this into a super small hive. We'll give them a little bit of pollen cake. And, I'm actually going to put that right on the area of the brood nest. You can call it that. The hive being that small, it's very likely it would get robbed out. And, you know, that would be the end of it. There is a queen. There are cleared cells, so they may be starting up a little bit. So we'll give them a chance. We'll give them a chance to survive, and the other stuff we'll just redistribute. So we put the honey super that had a little bit of honey in it on number 6, which is a very active hive. They'll clean that out. We have about 5 frames with some scattered resources on them. I'm going to see if there's any empty frames in these guys, and we'll swap that out. We're no longer queen hunting, so we are firing up the smoker, because these guys might have to be gotten after a little bit more. This one happens to have a deep on top, so I'm going to try to go for that first. Sadly, it looks like it's full of honey. They're very active up here. Ton of honey. This super's got a lot of honey in it. So I'm not going to try to swap any empty frames out because there are none. And this guy, we'd have to get into the bottom. I'm sure there's some empties in the bottom here, but this is still the first week of March. I don't really want to disturb too many things. So I'm actually going to take this partial super and just throw it on the top of this hive. And I am going to put the inner cover between the two. This often signals to the bees that what's above the inner cover isn't really their hive, and they'll rob it out. Which is fine with me. You know, I say we're just looking to try to clear these frames out as compared to letting insects get into them. So we'll just move this guy on top. And then I'll just center the 5 frames that are in here. this early in the season, I wouldn't worry too much about them building crazy burr comb on the sides. We're not into that season quite yet. Effectively, this just becomes a feeder box with honey in it. Hard to say if number one will make it. No eggs, small queen, tiny little cluster. We've reduced them to one medium. I believe in giving them a chance. Worst case scenario, we come back and it's been robbed out and it's dead, or it's just an out and out dead out. Weather's been a little mild lately, so that's in their favor, but we'll give her a chance to do something. And if not, then we'll just, dissolve that hive and move the resources. It wouldn't shock me to come back and start finding brood in there in a couple of weeks. So we'll see. Until next time, from Buzz Park, remember to like and subscribe, and good day.